Okay, so one of the biggest predictors of success for our students is vocabulary. Research has shown us time and again that the better students can comprehend vocabulary and the more vocabulary that they have access to, the better that they actually do in school. Pretty interesting. So it's a natural place for us to begin when it comes to arts and math. If we're looking at common vocabulary between the two areas, we can start to see some immediate success. So the easiest way to do this is to actually have common bulletin boards or common word walls between your classes. Have the same words listed in your arts classes as are in your math classes and vice versa, so that students are seeing those vocabulary terms show up in multiple locations. This does a couple of things for them. First, they can see that subjects don't live in isolation of each other, that everything connects. Also, the more times that they see vocabulary terms listed, the better, because they can start to understand that maybe a term means one thing in one area, a different thing in a different area, and can be merged together. Okay, so we're going to start with the K-5 common vocabulary, and you can see just listed left to right, and you're going to see words that make a whole lot of sense for each grade level, right? So in kindergarten, we're looking at things like measure and pattern, curves and slide. These are things that occur in kindergarten and that we're actually specifically teaching them in math vocabulary, but they can also be used in things like music or dance or theater or art. So measure in music means something a little different than measure when we're looking at math, but there's still some commonalities that we see there. So that's really interesting. Again, pattern. We use pattern in visual art, we use pattern in music, we use pattern in dance. There's a lot of different ways we can take a look at that. Curves and slides. Those are very much used in visual art and dance, very frequently actually. So again, having access to these common vocabulary terms will help us have conversations both in our math classes and in our visual art classes and music classes and dance and theater classes, something that we can continue to talk about. These go all the way up the spectrum, and as you can see, by the time we get to 5th grade, we're really working on those words. Now, we also have a common vocabulary list for grades 6 through 12. So all of you middle and high school people out there who are concerned that maybe we're just talking about elementary, we're not. So these things like scale, compose, expression, grid, things that we would discuss in 6th grade math classes, definitely things that we could also still discuss and look at in arts classes. Same way with grades 11 and 12, linear, range, oblique, measure, symmetry, composition, variation. And you'll notice some of these words overlap. So you're talking about measure in 12th grade and you're talking about measure over here in kindergarten, right? But because everything builds upon each other, the words can mean different things at different times. And so again, having this common vocabulary set out can be a really effective way to immediately begin to look at how do the arts and math make natural connections with each other. So something else to keep in mind when it comes to using these common vocabulary terms, not only are they great to showcase for students on their word walls and to have those conversations back and forth, they're also a great planning tool. Because if you can start to look at how these common vocabularies span across math and the arts, across the arts areas themselves, you can start to begin to look at what kind of lesson could we plan around this common vocabulary. So it's a really natural way to get in there in terms of planning for an arts integrated lesson. So in the next video, we're going to talk about habits of mind, because that's another great place to take a look at beginning to plan for arts integration lessons and STEAM lessons when it comes to the arts and math. So I'll see you over at the next video.